Good afternoon, my darlings. It is Tuesday, the 7th of May. Getting into mayhem now, aren't we? I have brought you a little treat for this afternoon. Lair by James Herbert. Now, I know we've already covered this once. We didn't go into as much detail as what we're going to go into today. Albeit, I'll try not to put too many spoilers in for you. After all, I don't want to ruin your delicious fun of blood, guts and gore. Yes, that's what this book is predominantly about. Blood, guts, gore and so much more. Epping Forest. Fancy a camping trip, anybody? Ah, yes. Shall we begin, my darlings? This edition is a first edition paperback. It is from July of 1979. Let's see, 95p it cost at the time. I paid slightly more than that. Well, actually, my husband paid slightly more than that because he bought this for me not so long back. To which I am eternally grateful, my darling. It is an actual joy. Now, prologue. I know you like a prologue. The rat had been trapped in the basement for 5 days. It had crawled into the dark corner behind a row of shelves to give birth. Its litter, and when it had tried to follow the sound that buzzed through its head, it had found the way blocked by a heavy door, a heavy iron door. The sound had continued for 5 long days, almost driving the mother rat and its tiny offspring mad with its incessant, monotonous pitch. But they had found food in abundance in the basement. The owners had ignored the government warning to leave all doors open so that every building could be cleared, for they knew that when the city's population returned from its short exile, food would be scarce for the first few days, and their shop would be ready to cash in on the shortage. The rat and its litter gorged themselves on the food, for the young ones seemed to only need their mother's milk for the first 3 days, finding greater replenishment in the food around them. They grew larger and sturdier by the day. Dark brown, almost black. The hairs were already beginning to grow on their bodies, except for one of them. Yes, only a few white hairs sprouted on its pinkish white body. It seemed to dominate the others, who brought it food and kept its body warm with their own. A curious lump seemed to be growing on its broad, lopsided shoulder next to its head. Patiently, they waited for the people to return. Is that not a delicious way to start a horror novel? Not all the rats were gone, not all the rats were gassed, and not all the rats were killed. Yeah. We start the novel meeting Ken Woolard, a local farmer who has lost his rag about the local vermin, blaming the cats for not doing their bit to keep the vermin population down. It's a bit difficult because when he finds Kitty, he now understands that the poor sod won't be able to kill the rodents because it's already been eaten by the rodents in the most savage of ways. Poor Kitty. Oh. Yes, Tom and Jerry, but the 18 version, I think. Ugh. We then, dear readers, have to hold our breath as Terry and Hazel, two parents on a day out to Epping Forest, with their young children, Josie and their son Keith, their daughter Josie. Well, Josie accidentally finds one of the rats in the undergrowth while looking for the family's football, because they were having a bit of a game of football. Josie unwittingly tries to pet it, but at the last minute is saved by her father, although he has no idea that he even saved her, because he hadn't seen it. And Josie was trying to say, because she's only 4, "Daddy, it's a doggy." But it wasn't a doggy, and when the readers are going, "Don't touch that, it's no dog, no dog, love, don't do it, don't do it." And then Dad comes in and calls for her, and she leaves the dog and goes to find her father, and everyone's going, "Phew, phew, wow." Because I mean, my heart at that point was flipping racing. We meet another wonderful character called Charles Dennison, head keeper of Epping Forest. He's out for a canter on his favourite horse, Bettina, when she is spooked by the undergrowth and an animal attacking another animal, and she bolts. And if you've ever been on a horse that bolts, it's quite a terrifying experience. I speak from experience. She goes off into a full gallop straight down this bridle path and out into a field, where Charles manages, as he's fallen out of his saddle, and God knows how he's held on, because if you haven't got a strong pair of thighs, you're going to get thrown a fair way. And thanks to having a strong pair of thighs, I managed to hang on to my horse, even though I was thrown out of the saddle. I sort of looked as though I was doing an Indiana stunt, you know, from Indiana Jones film. But yeah, I managed to hang on and brought my horse under control. But blimey, not for the faint-hearted, my darlings. No, no, no. Anyway, he manages to stop Bettina, and she's already hurt her ankle. And he manages to dismount, but as he's dismounting off Bettina to calm her and, you know, basically make sure she's okay, he is astonished to see deer out in the clearing. And he realises they should be down at Thaden Boy, where they are safe away from cars and traffic, because it's a section in the Epping Forest where they keep the deer, because they've really declined over the years, and this is a place where they can breed in peace. Anyway, what stuns him even further, stuns Charles to his core, is that what he's spotted is a white buck, and it's been 30 years since one has been spotted, and it's supposed to be a bad omen. Dun dun dun! Cue the scary music, because we all know what's coming here. Yeah, we do. We all know what's coming now, don't we? Ratus, ratus. You can see the tension already beginning to build. In chapter 2, we meet Lucas Pender, and he works for Ratkill. When the last outbreak happened in London, Ratkill had become the biggest and most reputable business. At the time of the outbreak, as it had become known, Pender was an entomologist researching for a company dealing mainly with wood preservation. His company had been based in Huddersfield. Oh, you know, I say nothing bad ever happens up north. Well, here we go. We get a mention for Huddersfield. So anyone from Huddersfield, you've been mentioned in the Lair. Yeah, well done. He'd been fortunate to have missed the nightmarish invasion of London, had Luke Pender, because he was up north in Huddersfield. Aye. The Black Rats had finally been gassed, rooted from their underground lairs by the use of ultrasonic machinery, and apart from a few minor skirmishes with those that managed to escape the gas, I think they must have been, you know, off with their heads, shot them or whatever, and they seemed to think that the threat was over. Never trust a government official. When a government official says there's nothing to fear, don't worry, there's nothing to see here, that's your cue to run like buggery. It is. Anyway, the Ministry of Agriculture, Lucas Pender, seems to think that something is being withheld. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Really? Goodness me. Lucas, whatever gave you that idea? Shock, horror. There is another guy, Mike Lehman, who also works at Rat Kill, and he's angling for the Director of Research position. And he seems to show an awful lot of resentment to Lucas Pender. So there's quite a bit of tension there at the start, and these two will butt heads quite a bit. Fellas, come on, we all want the same outcome. No more rats. Do you really have to lose your shit over such a tiny little thing? I know there's a woman involved, but she'll pick one of you eventually. Probably the one that's been the less of the assholes. Who knows? Notable events. The Vicar's demise, which, my darlings, we're going to enjoy. Come on. This is what you've been waiting for. Reverend Matthews hadn't noticed the other rats in the graveyard, hidden in the grass, behind the trees, crouching beneath gravestones. Those that had silently watched him enter the church grounds followed his progress along the path with black, evil eyes creeping forwards, their bodies close to the earth. He wasn't aware that they were all around him. Moving closer, haunches quivering in anticipation. It took long seconds for him to realise what was happening when the first one bit into his ankle, calmly eating into his flesh, without haste or aggression. And by the time he had screamed and struck out at the rat, it was too late, for the creature's companions were already launching themselves at his body, landing heavily against him, teeth snapping and claws scratching for a hold, toppling him over, down into a pit among the others, who welcomed the new warm meat and the satiation of the blood that ran from it. In an effort that was brought about by terror overriding all pain, he gained his feet and tried to scramble up the steep incline, long black bodies clinging to him, pulling him back. But there were still more waiting for him up there. His hands grabbed at the grass, trying to haul himself from the pit, and the rats bit off his fingers, one by one. The small bones proving no problem for the razor-sharp incisors. Unable to grip, he slid back down, 1 foot falling into the open coffin, sinking into the remnants of the old woman's now masticated flesh. One of the creatures followed him down, and for a few seconds he gazed into its black eyes, the twitching pink nose only inches away. The rat slid onto him, its jaws opening wide. The vicar's body was smothered by other giant vermin, the pit filling and brimming over with their agitated, struggling bodies, and his screams were muffled. He wondered why it took so long to die, for he could feel a rat inside him, one that had eaten its way beneath his rib cage and was now gorging itself on his heart. Surely he should be dead by now, The pain had stopped moments before, or had its intensity become subliminal? Why did he still wonder? Why did the questions, the doubts persist? Surely now there would be an answer. But no revelations came. There was only the awareness that he was being eaten. And then he realized his body was dead, that only his thoughts remained, and the rat fed on his brain, its pointed head buried deep into the open skull, swallowing cells and tissue that no longer functioned, the impulses finding no receptors and fading to nothing. Sunlight pushed its way over the treetops and bathed the church and its grounds in a fresh, vibrant glow. But no birds greeted its arrival. The only sound to be heard was a faint scuffling noise from somewhere behind the ancient building. Soon even that was gone. Oh, delicious terror! Poor vicar. Poor Reverend Matthews, what a way to go, you poor, poor man. Other rather wonderful, notable events, which I'm not going to spoil for you, my darlings. I only read the vicar one to you. I won't be reading the others. No, you must pick up this wonderful book, either by Kindle, audio, or buy yourself an original novel. I mean, after all, it's just wonderful, really wonderful. Anyway, your next notable events to look out for. The Bernardo boys on their annual camping trip. Ooh. Yes. The stoats that were slaughtered inside their nest. An entire family. Their insides chewed up. We meet the farmer, Ken Woolard, again, and his wife Nellie. But unfortunately, these poor people, Nellie trying to escape and found by her husband, her sightless eyes gazing up at him. They're eaten, every last juicy little morsel. I don't think the cats would have saved you now, would they, Ken? What can we say? London has had a very narrow escape. And this time we'll find the survivors of the extermination of the rats in Epping Forest. Yes, because Epping Forest, it should be named Effing Forest, because effing hell, that's where the effing rats are. Yes, unfortunately. We're not very fond of the black Rhodontus ratus. They've overpowered their little brown-coated friends. Now, the black rat is a lot bigger than the brown rat. I have this on good authority from my zoologist daughter. But she also thinks that the fact that these rats are eating humans, the whole genome sequence within them must have been altered quite a lot for them to wanting to feast upon us. You remember when I said that the government were hiding something? It's fabulous having a zoologist for a daughter. It really is. She doesn't have to give you some insight to certain things. Things that you would never even think about questioning. Exactly. Anyway, back in Epping Forest, renamed Effing Forest by moi, the black rat rises again. Yes. The thing is, will Luke Pender and the guy that he's butting heads with, Mike Lehman, will they manage to eradicate them this time round? If the Ministry of Agriculture is anything to go by, good Lord, it's like that scene from Jaws, you know, when the mayor of Amity turns around and tells everybody that goes to the beach, everything's absolutely fine, you can go swimming in the water, no problem, you're not going to get eaten by a big fish. The head of the Ministry of Agriculture is that dude. You know what? They could be brothers from another mother. They are that similar. Yeah. Anyway, all I can say is the guy was a bit of a div. A bit of a divvy. And unfortunately, Lucas and Mike are... yeah, they're the ones that have to eradicate the problem after this dude, yeah, basically has lied his ass off to say that there's nothing going on, when we all clearly, dear readers, all know that Ratty Roo is after you. Yes, he is. And everything else in the forest. Anyway, although they're keeping a low profile, these ratty rats, they are striking when necessary, and they are deadly. Yes, as we are. You know, we're starting to get a little bit of an image for it. If you couldn't put the first novel down, which obviously, no, I couldn't, because this is the series of series, my goodness, of which all animal attack novels hold, these are the originals. Right, James is the original writer of Animals Attacking. But flip a little bit further back from that, and I will say it was Daphne du Maurier and Birds. You know, I was explaining in the I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, and Stephen King was saying that each reader, each writer through the generations feeds upon the ones before. Well, James has been taking inspiration from Daphne with her attacking birds. Although it's such a short story, I have done a previous video on Daphne du Maurier's Birds, and when you've watched that, you'll understand how James has got his inspiration to do Lair. Well, to start off with rats, actually, do Lair, then Domain, and then the city. And throughout the Mayhem month, we are going to be covering these darlings, because they are. And writers today are looking back on James. Yes, I'm talking about you, Alan. Yes, I'm talking about you, my darling. With the Ghosts of Sleeth, and helping him with inspiration to do Lucy. I cannot wait to tell you about Lucy. But at the moment we're talking about Lair. So let's get back to Lair. What we're doing throughout all of this is we are searching for the next Lair, where these rats are, where the giant pink bulbous headed one that seems to control all the others is. And the only way we can stop these rats in this section of the story is by getting that one and killing it. Will they be successful? That's the question you're asking yourself. And why on earth would the Ministry of Agriculture be hiding this? What are they up to? Very sneaky, very shady goings on here. Absolutely. And they have an awful lot to answer for, because so many people are going to get their, well, just going to die, you know, unnecessarily. I mean, I like to think about the two that were having an affair, Babs and Alan, the two lovers that are eaten alive. And the last thoughts that are going through Babs's brain is her husband is at home with her children, their children, and all the boys can keep saying to the daddies, "Mum's late, Dad, Mum's late." Well, Mum's never coming home because Mum's lunch or dinner or whatever you want to call it for the rats. It's genuinely flipping scary, this. It really gets under your skin, you know. We've gone to so much trouble in the original novel, Rats, to try and get rid of the rats, that for them to come back into Epping Forest through the Ministry of Agriculture knowing about it, and then expecting Lucas and Mike to get rid of your nasty little problem is very annoying. And then I can feel the frustration of these two characters when they're not butting heads over a woman, they're butting heads over how to get rid of the rats. Boys, have we ever thought about working together? You know, eradicate the problem. Yeah, and then you can beat each other up in the car park. Honestly, they're like stags arguing. Anyway, with this squeakquel, I'm sorry, I had to do that, I did. Yes, the squeakquel to the rats. The middle part of the squillogy. Oh dear. I'm just getting worse. I'm just going to have to stop. I'm terribly sorry. I'd have to give this definitely a 10 out of 10 for a squeakquel. Yes. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the forest. The rats, they're after you. Oh dear me. Give it a go. It's lovely. It's scary. It's blood curdling. It's vicious and nasty. It's as brilliantly written as the first one. I don't know why the Lair gets so much, oh, it's alright, but it's not really as good as the first one that he did. No, it's just as good. It's fantastic. I mean, you know, here we are, Ratty-Roo, after you. Yes, what's not to like? Honestly, scary as hell. And right up to the last page, you'll find your heart is racing in your chest. And it genuinely, it is a scary novel, and it really does make your flesh crawl. I mean, you know, those poor lads that went on the Bernardo's camping trip, flipping heck. Oh, there wasn't anything left to identify. Poor darlings. So, I think I'm going to put a little bit of a spoiler on the title, you know, when I'm getting it ready for you for an upload. Yeah. But I'm not going to spoil it by giving away the ending, apart from the fact that you're going to be sat there, and if you haven't bitten your fingernails right down to the quick at the beginning of the book, you will at the end. You'll be ha ha ha, be absolutely terrified. It's just so much fun. Yeah, and there's a little teeny weeny poem right at the front, and this cracks me up every single time I hear it, or read it for that matter. So here you are. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, my darlings. Yeah, I don't think the teddy bears will be wanting to go down, that's for sure. I don't know. Anyway, I'll say what I always say, my darlings. Happy readings and enjoy. And if you can get yourself a copy of The Lair, I would do. It's deliciously devilish fun. It's as evil as it comes. James does not disappoint. And you will not be disappointed with this novel. Give it a go. Get yourself a copy this evening. Settle down, curl up and enjoy. Take care, my darlings. Bye bye.